Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the Great Crusade, towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessings of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
The year is 1944. Germany has been put on the defensive to the east, and Italy has been taken out of the war. Even with these current fronts, Germany still holds control over most of mainland Europe. The idea to open a new front to the west, cornering Hitler, led to the creation of one in particular operation. The plan was so daring, so ambitious, it would become an icon in world history. This plan's name: Overlord. Unlike Italy, where an amphibious invasion was done with moderate ease, landing back in France was impossible. This impossibility was caused by one of the Nazis' greatest fortifications, the Atlantic Wall. This line of fortifications spanned the west coast of Europe, from France to Norway. Layered with over 150 coastal artillery guns, tons of coastal machine gun bunkers, ship-puncturing Czech hedgehogs, and hundreds of underwater mines. This wall was considered by the Führer himself as unbreachable. With this threat in mind, the Allies sent over 3,200 photo reconnaissance sorties to identify the fortification styles in any area to attempt a landing. After some time, the Allies found a likely candidate: Normandy. Normandy was shown to be not as defended as the northern French coast, such as Calais, where the shortest distance between the UK and France was located at the Strait of Dover. But just the lack of defenses won't be enough to secure the region. They needed a diversion. The diversion came in under the name of Operation Fortitude, setting up across from the Strait of Dover in an attempt to get the Germans into believing the invasion will start from Calais. The Allies set up an entire military force made up of dummy vehicles and equipment, even dummy buildings like hangars and airstrips for aircraft that were not even real. With Germany distracted by the fake army, the real force begins to form. The Allies, logistically led by Sir Bertrand Ramsay, who also commanded the Dunkirk evacuation, managed to move over 7,000 ships to assembly points opposite of Normandy. As a means to prevent Axis counterattacks at sea, naval screens were also set up, cutting off the English Channel. Supreme Allied Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower picked the date for the landings: June 5th. The Allies led the landings with 156,000 troops to take the selected beaches. Following the troops are 1,500 tanks, such as the M4 Shermans and Mk6 Centaurs, over 6,000 ships ranging from troop transports, battleships, and destroyers, along with well over 10,000 aircraft for support in deploying troops behind the lines. Some tanks that were involved were also used as amphibious duplex drive tanks, sometimes referred to as DD or Donald Duck tanks. On the other hand, the Axis side was comprised of over 50,000 troops spread out along the beaches, defended by the coastal artillery guns, machine gun bunkers, and previously mentioned defenses that were in place for such an invasion. The Allies had picked out 6 positions for the landings, 3 given to America, named Omaha, Utah, and a heavy gun position at Pointe-Du-Hoc. Britain took 2 areas called Gold and Sword, while Canada joined in and decided to take position Juno. Right before the invasion was supposed to take place on the 5th of June, bad weather rolled in, causing a massive delay, setting the invasion for the next day, June 6th, 1944. After a full day-long delay, the landing was a go. Forces were airdropped behind the wall to outflank the German positions, along with clearing away attempts at Axis counterattacks and sabotaging enemy railways and logistics while the channel was being crossed at sea. One of these airborne units will end up grouping with forces at the Utah landing zone. Starting in Sector Juno, Canadian foot troops ended up landing before the armored divisions did, caused by rough seas, a pattern we'll see throughout the day. Allied forces tried to use offshore bombardment to destroy German positions, but failed to do so. Canadian forces, however, were able to secure the beach rather quickly, but ended up getting delayed before taking the city of Beny-sur-Mer. For Sector Gold, conditions caused British tanks to move in closer than originally intended. Aerial bombardment also failed to destroy enemy artillery positions, leading to continued shelling for the rest of the day until the beach was finally taken after each artillery position was individually assaulted. For Sector Sword, British armor managed to safely reach the beach and support infantry efforts, leading to a quicker victory. However, later in the day, wind conditions caused armored forces to become less maneuverable, and forces trying to take the city of Caen were forced to withdraw from lack of armored support. Forces that captured both Juno and Sword also managed to hold off and repel a German Panzer Division counterattack that was planning on retaking the beaches. At Sector Utah, the current moved forces south of their intended target and caused forces to not reach their intended location within the day. Forces at Utah were able to link up and group with airborne units who were originally displaced due to lack of communication and equipment when they were sent out, which actually managed to confuse German soldiers, creating a slower response. The most defended sector, Omaha, was an interesting fiasco. Currents caused deviations and delays in the American troops being able to properly land on the beach. Being the amount of enemy fire these forces were taking before landing caused the Allies to put a hold on the landings, bringing in destroyers to provide fire support on that sector. Later in the day, German forces starting to run out of ammunition, giving the forces a way to make better progress and later taking the beach. Pointe-Du-Hoc is a story that seemed more like a Hollywood film rather than a World War II battle. 200 men from the 2nd Ranger Division had to scale up a 98-foot cliff with ropes and ladders while being fired upon to destroy a heavy gun position that was located at the top. When reaching the top, the Rangers realized the gun had been moved, only to find it unguarded 600 yards from the cliff. The group managed to destroy the gun, but were caught by a rock in a hard place and had to hold the area to survive. By the time support had arrived, only 90 of the 200 men remained. Immediately after the landings took place, the cities of Caen and Cherbourg were in a state of battle that would persist for a month, with Cherbourg dealing with an Allied naval bombardment against Axis weapon and fortified positions on June 25th. By the following day, on June 7th, the Allies had achieved the impossible. They have a foothold in Nazi-controlled Europe, but at a fairly high cost. The Allies suffered over 10,000 casualties, with over 4,000 confirmed dead, and losing up to 185 M4 Sherman tanks. On the German side, they suffered one hell of a defeat, at the cost of up to 9,000 casualties. The success of D-Day will be followed by an unprecedented breakout from the beachheads down the road to Paris, and then to Germany. military and civilians, with targeting specific groups being particularly common. The invasion started.
People. Sacramento and the NCU don't seem to realize that they have screwed themselves.